The world's attention is fixed on the challenging situation unfolding around King Charles III's health. Amidst rumors of tension with Queen Camilla, the monarch's troubling health condition is causing particular concern. In recent days, the situation has escalated to the point where Prince Harry has taken urgent steps to arrange an immediate flight. Sources close to the royal household are sharing disquieting news about the king's well-being. It is tragic to realize that the monarch, who fulfilled his long-held dream and ascended the throne in 2022, is now battling a severe oncological disease that has fundamentally altered his life. The king's health raises serious apprehension. Prince Harry, often perceived as an estranged figure within the royal family, is urgently organizing a trip prompted by a sharp deterioration in his father's health. What does the future hold for the royal family? It is known that the cancer diagnosed in King Charles III is incurable but under control. Last Sunday, an influential British publication delivered unexpected news that shook the United Kingdom and the global community. King Charles III, now 76, is battling an oncological disease which, despite being incurable, is manageable. While a serious blow, this diagnosis is quite common among elderly patients suffering from similar chronic conditions. Experts offer opinions that simultaneously inspire hope and cause anxiety. The king may live for several more years, keeping the disease at bay, but ultimately, cancer will be the cause of his demise. This medical distinction plays a key role in understanding the strategy chosen by the royal family to manage the situation. How will events unfold? Can King Charles III overcome all the challenges he faces? The world holds its breath, awaiting news. It is striking that, due to the delicate and serious nature of King Charles III's health, his return to Buckingham Palace after the completion of restoration work in 3 years appears unlikely. This fact opens a new chapter in the annals of the British monarchy, foreshadowing possible changes in the monarch's official residence and shaping the course of his reign for the coming decade. What changes await the British monarchy, and how will this impact its future? Despite the diagnosis, which became public last February, King Charles III continues to maintain an active schedule, albeit with some adjustments to accommodate his health. Those close to him emphasize the monarch's remarkable resilience during this period. It is worth recalling that in late March, he required a brief hospitalization due to treatment side effects, but this stay was temporary. Just a few days later, King Charles III returned to his duties with renewed energy, undertaking a recent trip to Canada alongside Queen Camilla, which serves as convincing evidence of his unwavering commitment to his role. How long can the king maintain such activity, and what other challenges await him on this journey? In recent statements, King Charles III has expressed cautious optimism, noting that he feels the worst of his illness is behind him. Nevertheless, an atmosphere of cautious silence prevails in London, with officials exercising extreme discretion in releasing information about his true condition. This restraint is dictated by a desire to avoid unnecessary panic, without resorting to concealing the truth. Behind the scenes, preparations have already begun for the monarch's 80th birthday celebration in 2027, an event that will undoubtedly be marked by particular emotional significance in light of current circumstances. What will this jubilee be like, and what surprises will it bring? Amidst these unsettling events, speculation is growing louder that Prince Harry is hastily preparing to fly to the UK to support his father, King Charles III, following news of his declining health. This move underscores the importance of family ties within the royal family during times of upheaval, and demonstrates how close relationships can play a crucial role in supporting the monarch in difficult times. Such reports have sparked lively discussions in the media and among supporters of the monarchy, who hope that this gesture will strengthen family unity during a challenging period. The news of King Charles III's diagnosis and Prince Harry's potential return has sparked widespread public discussion about the future of the British monarchy and the current king's reign. How will this fact influence public perception of monarch longevity and approaches to managing their health? This situation prompts reflection on the true position of leaders and public figures, who are expected to maintain an image of strength and unwavering resolve despite serious health issues. Modern medical advancements allow many diseases to be controlled for many years. However, human nature is always susceptible to vulnerability. King Charles III's health serves as a reminder that behind the outward impregnability and grandeur of the crown lie ordinary individuals facing universal human problems. Following previous news, it is important to note that a new era is dawning in the life and work of the royal family, combining centuries-old traditions with modern trends. This innovation is expected to strengthen the monarchy's core mission in the modern world. Amidst these events, news arrived quite unexpectedly, astonishing the entire royal court. Princess Anne, deeply respected for her many years of devoted service, suddenly announced her retirement from royal duties. But the most sensational revelation was her naming Catherine as her successor. What prompted the choice of Catherine? Why now? And what does this mean for the future of the monarchy in the UK? All these questions require careful analysis and consideration. On June 18, 2025, at a lavish state banquet, an event occurred that shook the political world. In the opulent hall, where distinguished diplomats from around the globe gathered in exquisite attire, all eyes were on Princess Anne. Like an embodiment of elegance in her dark blue gown, she gracefully rose to deliver a speech that would forever be etched in history. Princess Anne, known for her sharp intellect and serious approach to matters, announced her decision to step down from her royal duties. She explained this step by her desire to make way for a younger generation, full of energy, innovative ideas, and ready to take responsibility for the country's future. In her speech, Anne specifically praised Catherine, the Princess of Wales, admiring her fortitude, grace, and unwavering devotion to royal duties. Anne expressed confidence that Catherine was the ideal successor, capable of honorably continuing this important mission. The hall erupted in a storm of applause, a mix of admiration and slight astonishment. Princess Anne's announcement came like a bolt from the blue, especially considering Catherine's recent return to public life. Now, the Princess of Wales is set to assume one of the key positions in the royal family. To fully appreciate the significance of this event, one must look at Princess Anne's life journey. For over half a century, she proudly held the title of the hardest-working member of the royal family. Her life was dedicated to charity, from officially opening new hospitals and supporting various foundations to visiting educational institutions and participating in pivotal events. Anne's genuine passion for helping those in need was evident in her every action. She never sought personal fame, preferring modest attire and emphasizing that attention should be directed towards improving the world, not external attributes. Princess Anne always distinguished herself with a sharp mind, keen insight, and strong character. She did not seek universal recognition, but was always present where her help was most needed. People knew they could rely on her. She was consistently dependable, hardworking, and successfully handled any task. The life journey of Princess Anne, Queen Elizabeth II's only daughter, was far from smooth. She had to skillfully navigate a society historically dominated by men. Instead of remaining in the shadows, she emerged as a vibrant personality, competing in the Olympic Games in equestrian events. This was not merely an aristocratic hobby, but a serious achievement that underscored her indomitable spirit and willpower. Subsequently, Princess Anne became an indispensable support for her brother, King Charles III. Despite personal trials, such as the dissolution of her marriage to Captain Mark Phillips, Princess Anne maintained resilience and dignity. Even after sustaining injuries from a horse incident in June 2024, she returned to her duties with remarkable speed, appearing in public with a noticeable bruise under her eye, further testament to her unwavering determination. Princess Anne has always been distinguished by her inner strength, courage, and boundless dedication to her duty. Princess Anne's decision to retire came as a surprise to many. Her absence from some important royal events, such as missing the second day of Royal Ascot in 2020 due to duties in Scotland, did not go unnoticed. Rumors circulated that she might reduce her activity in the future, but no one anticipated a complete withdrawal. As it turns out, Princess Anne had secretly harbored this plan for several months. She held extensive conversations with King Charles III and Catherine to ensure her departure would be smooth and would not create additional problems for the royal family. It is important to emphasize that Princess Anne made this decision not out of indifference or an unwillingness to perform her duties. She stepped down because she felt it was the most opportune moment. She expressed confidence that Catherine was fully prepared to take on her role and continue her initiatives. In Catherine, Anne saw a rare combination of qualities: a deep sense of duty, inner strength, and fearlessness. She was struck by Catherine's devotion to the ideal of public service, which resonated with Anne's own convictions. She was convinced that Catherine would continue the work with the same fervor and warmth of spirit. Princess Anne's well-deserved retirement marked an era of change in the strict order of the royal court. This event, devoid of pomp, is nonetheless difficult to overstate in its significance. Following Anne's announcement, attention immediately shifted to Catherine, who was seen as a future leader capable of unifying the royal family. Catherine's ascent to this responsible position was swift yet modest, consistent with Anne's own style of leadership. Princess Anne decided to relinquish her duties not only because her own chapter in history was drawing to a close, but also to pass the torch to someone she fully trusts. In Catherine, she saw a woman capable of continuing the chosen course with the same energy and determination. The evening banquet served as a fitting culmination of this significant event. It is worth noting the support Princess Anne provided to the monarch during a period of severe trials, becoming a quiet pillar for him in his battle with a serious illness. When King Charles III learned of his diagnosis, the royal family was deeply shaken. It was a devastating blow not only to the monarch himself, but to all his loved ones. During this difficult period, Princess Anne, his sister, proved to be a reliable stronghold, offering him comprehensive support. She avoided grand statements and did not seek attention, demonstrating her support through quiet strength, tireless care, and sincere love. She became a silent but unwavering helper for the king, the rock he could lean on in his time of need. Princess Anne, known for her tireless work ethic and boundless devotion, dedicated her life to serving the British crown, her country, and its citizens. However, during the period when King Charles III faced the severe challenge of an oncological disease, her role took on an especially personal and emotional dimension. She appeared not merely as a representative of the royal family, but as a loving and devoted sister, firmly determined to provide her brother with every possible support during this difficult time. From the very beginning of this ordeal, Princess Anne displayed sensitivity and wisdom, understanding how best to support her brother while avoiding ostentatious sympathy and grand pronouncements. She was by his side in moments of solitude, showed care through thoughtful gestures, and simply spent time with him. Princess Anne tirelessly ensured that the king felt her support and love. whether it was her presence at important events, quietly sitting beside him during difficult moments, or simply being ready to listen when he needed to talk. She was always there. In the private setting of the palace, in the quiet rooms where the king found peace and solitude, she understood that often the most effective form of help is unobtrusive support. She was quiet, consistent, and unfailingly present in his life. Princess Anne tried to be with her brother not only during official visits, but also as a loving and caring sister. She spent long days with him, sharing cheerful stories to lift his spirits, and sometimes simply sat by his side in silence, offering comfort through her presence. Princess Anne proved to be a devoted ally to King Charles III, capably shouldering a portion of state duties during his illness. Noticing signs of fatigue in her brother as he underwent treatment, she energetically immersed herself in royal responsibilities, attending numerous events, supporting charities, and vigilantly ensuring that the machinery of the monarchy continued to function smoothly. Princess Anne was driven not by a vain pursuit of personal glory, but by a sincere desire to lighten the burden on the king's shoulders. Her primary goal was to create the most favorable conditions for her brother's recovery, shielding him from undue stress and worry. Anne aimed for King Charles III to be able to fully dedicate himself to regaining his health, confident that she had the situation under control. Princess Anne always showed sensitivity to her brother's feelings, striving not to create additional pressure or make him feel like a burden. Instead, she offered him silent but tangible support, sharing his concerns about the future of the monarchy, the family's well-being, and the stability of the state. Anne tirelessly reassured her brother of the unwavering unity and cohesion of the royal family, consistently affirming her readiness to share any burden with him. On particularly difficult days, when the king felt his strength wane, Anne found words of comfort and encouragement. Without question or hesitation, she stood in for him at official events, providing him with the opportunity to rest and regain his strength. Princess Anne continued to perform her duties with unchanging dignity and tact, allowing her brother to recuperate without feeling guilt or inadequacy. The king felt secure, completely trusting his sister and knowing that in his absence she would take care of everything necessary. Princess Anne became an indispensable link between King Charles III and his loved ones. She skillfully maintained strong ties with the younger generation of the royal family, the extended circle of relatives, and palace staff, ensuring timely communication and unity. Her delicate guidance played a vital role in maintaining family cohesion and providing necessary support to the king during a difficult period. In moments when King Charles III was filled with hope, Princess Anne shared his optimism. However, when days were clouded by sadness and anxiety, she became a source of comfort and support for her brother. Possessing a keen sense of empathy, she unerringly determined when a word of encouragement was needed and when silent presence sufficed. Princess Anne knew how to bring a smile to the king's face with a witty remark or share silence with him, allowing him to process difficult emotions. At public events, Princess Anne tirelessly monitored her brother's well-being, striving to prevent his overexertion and ensure his comfort. She was invariably by his side during family celebrations, official ceremonies, and secluded weekends, ensuring he felt involved and needed. During the king's battle with illness, Princess Anne saw in him not just a brother, but a man in need of her silent protection. She shielded him from excessive stress, subtly taking on complex issues and providing him with the opportunity to rest and recover. Princess Anne resolved family disagreements, made thoughtful decisions, and confidently yet kindly managed royal duties, demonstrating her devotion and care for her brother. Princess Anne not only showed sisterly love for her brother, King Charles III. She actively engaged with the medical community, courtiers, and the wider public, carefully monitoring the growing anxiety in the country. The princess personally ensured that His Majesty received highly qualified medical care and was in a calm, healing environment conducive to his recovery. Anne took on the complex task of managing the flow of information emanating from the palace, striving for a delicate balance between transparency and respect for the royal family's privacy. She understood the concerns of the public, but always prioritized her brother's health and well-being. This work required immense dedication and emotional resilience from the princess. Despite the deep emotional pain caused by her brother's suffering and overwhelming concern for his life, Anne did not allow fear to take over. She maintained her composure and demonstrated unwavering resolve to be a reliable pillar for him. Overcoming her own feelings, she focused on providing him with comprehensive support. Princess Anne's inner strength and resilience were key factors in maintaining stability within the royal family during this challenging period. Her deep, unbreakable bond with her brother guided her every action. She served as a source of comfort and support for King Charles III, reminding everyone that even monarchs need someone to lean on in difficult times. As the months passed, her unwavering support remained constant. Even when hope for King Charles III's recovery began to glimmer, she continued to be his steadfast rock. She did not falter when improvement became evident, but continued to instill confidence in her enduring devotion. Her support was of immense importance in preserving the unity of the royal family. She tirelessly ensured that Prince William, Princess Catherine, and all other family members received the necessary help and support. She skillfully managed complex family dynamics, smoothed conflicts, and created an atmosphere where everyone could openly express their anxieties and hopes. Throughout all trials, Princess Anne remained a paragon of resilience, composure, and reliability. She sought no honors or recognition. Her greatest reward was the knowledge that her brother felt secure and cared for. She became a source of solace for the king in his most trying times. And even in public, when cameras captured fleeting moments between them, it was evident. A glance, a gentle touch, or a warm smile from Anne spoke volumes. These interactions revealed a story of a deep and loving bond, rooted in childhood, a bond forged by shared joys and sorrows. Public attention is invariably drawn to the lives of royal family members. However, the support Princess Anne provided King Charles III during his battle with a serious illness highlighted the deep and genuine affection that exists even within the most prominent families. Behind the glitter of titles and the splendor of crowns hide ordinary siblings overcoming life's challenges together. Princess Anne did not need grand speeches or loud declarations to express her love and devotion. Her humble and constant presence spoke for itself. In difficult times, she became a beacon of hope for her brother, guiding him with wisdom and providing unwavering support he could always rely on. Through her actions, Princess Anne demonstrated true compassion, exhibiting patience, kindness, and tact. True support, like a lighthouse, illuminates the path without overshadowing individuality. It possesses a gentle touch and an unbreakable strength, enduring any trial and remaining a faithful pillar even in the brightest times. King Charles III faced a severe ordeal, embarking on a battle with cancer. During this period woven from fear, pain, and uncertainty, his sister, Princess Anne, became his unwavering support and an embodiment of love. She transformed into a source of comfort, reliable assistance, and sincere friendship, accompanying him on his journey from a struggling individual to a symbol of hope for the entire monarchy. The deeply personal story of the Princess of Wales filled with dramatic experiences, resonated with people worldwide. Her narrative is not just a chronicle of illness and recovery, but a tale of incredible resilience of spirit, profound reflection, and significant life changes. The news that Catherine was diagnosed with cancer in March 2024 shocked the public. With undisguised concern, people watched as she temporarily stepped back from her royal duties to dedicate herself entirely to treatment. This period became a time of severe trials and personal struggle for her, as she faced the most serious challenge of her life behind palace walls. Months passed with Catherine making virtually no public appearances. Then, in September 2024, like a ray of hope, came the announcement of the completion of her chemotherapy, bringing widespread relief. And in January 2025, even more joyful news arrived, the announcement of remission. However, when the princess reappeared in public, it became evident that she had undergone a profound inner transformation. A renewed Catherine appeared before the world, strikingly different from the one known before. This was not merely a return to her former life, but a true transformation and personal growth. During her recovery, Catherine dedicated time to reflecting on her future. She realized that she did not wish to return to her old routine and habits. This enforced break helped her reevaluate her life priorities and understand what truly held value. As sources close to the royal family note, Catherine discovered a completely new direction in life. She now seeks to make a lasting positive impact on the world. Her goal is not just to be seen, but to leave a tangible mark on people's hearts. Catherine's triumphant return to key events in the royal calendar, such as Trooping the Color and the Garter ceremony in June 2025, was by no means a spontaneous step. These appearances were backed by a clear strategy designed to mark her return to duty and demonstrate her inner transformation. However, the sudden cancellation of her visit to Royal Ascot that same month sparked a wave of public concern, raising fears of a possible relapse. It soon became clear that Catherine had made a conscious decision to prioritize her own health. This choice by the Princess of Wales was met with approval and understanding. Unlike some members of the royal family for whom adherence to tradition is an unbreakable rule, Catherine demonstrated that true strength lies in knowing when to step back and prioritize self-care. This approach made her image more human and relatable to ordinary people. Soon after, on June 18th, Princess Anne made the unexpected announcement of her retirement as a working royal. For many years, she had been a paragon of dedication and diligence, overseeing over 300 different organizations and projects. Her departure was undoubtedly a significant loss for the monarchy. However, the royal family was prepared for such a turn of events. Catherine, in turn, expressed her readiness to take on some of the duties previously performed by Princess Anne. The unfolding events transcended a mere transfer of duties, resembling more a symbolic relay race where one person passes not just a position, but a burden of responsibility and a mission. Catherine and Anne, despite their differing personalities, always demonstrated a special closeness. Both women highly valued hard work and selflessness, prioritizing public duty over personal interests. Despite their differences, they were united by a common trait, an unwavering dedication to serving society and a desire to benefit people. When Catherine faced the serious challenge of cancer, the initial surgical operation yielded positive results. However, subsequent examinations, unfortunately, revealed the presence of residual cancer cells. During this difficult period, Anne visited Catherine to express her support and offer wise counsel. In Catherine, Anne saw something special, not ostentatious fortitude, but inner strength and unwavering determination. She genuinely believed that Catherine would be able to gracefully overcome any difficulties fate had in store for her. Now, in taking on Anne's role, Catherine aims not merely to copy her actions, but to continue her work, bringing her unique style and fresh perspective to it. This transition was not a spontaneous decision. The two women held many meetings at Anne's cozy Gloucestershire home, where they spoke frankly about important issues such as responsibility, life values, family, and the future of their shared endeavor. Catherine, who was still adapting to life after a serious illness, found immense support and inspiration in Anne's advice and encouragement. Anne strongly urged Catherine to prioritize relationships with those around her and her family, considering this key to success in any undertaking. Catherine took this advice with particular seriousness, which is reflected in her actions and behavior. She has now become more open and approachable, and her energy has gained stability and direction. Catherine has earned universal recognition for her ability to harmoniously combine the burden of royal duties with the joys of motherhood, thereby demonstrating that it is possible to be successful in a career while remaining a loving mother. At the solemn order of the Garter ceremony on June 16, 2025, the public witnessed a touching display of deep affection between Catherine and Anne. Their relaxed conversation, radiant smiles, and obvious enjoyment of each other's company left no doubt that they shared a close and trusting relationship. This was more than just a show of respect. It was a bond founded on mutual trust, deep understanding, and shared values. Anne's decision to step down is undoubtedly a significant step, but at the same time it is imbued with special meaning. Instead of simply retiring, she is passing on her life's work into the reliable hands of someone she trusts implicitly and sees as a worthy successor. Catherine understands the full importance of the mission entrusted to her and is prepared to dedicate all her strength and energy to continue Anne's work and bring even greater benefit to society. Taking on Anne's duties implies more than just an increase in the number of events attended. Anne was actively involved in various areas, including supporting agriculture and ensuring the well-being of children worldwide. Catherine is expected to assume a significant portion of these important tasks, continuing the traditions of charity and social responsibility. This is undoubtedly a monumental undertaking, but Catherine is demonstrating a confident start. Her first serious test will be attending the Royal Highland Show in Edinburgh, an event in which Anne always took a very active part. Catherine demonstrates a delicate yet decisive leadership style. In contrast to Anne's energetic actions, Catherine prefers a thoughtful approach, taking her time to make decisions and carefully weighing all circumstances. While Anne was characterized by strictness and directness, Catherine exhibits softness and diplomacy without yielding in strength of spirit or principles. Her outstanding ability lies in her capacity to listen attentively, empathize, and establish genuine connection with others, allowing her to find common ground with a wide range of people. Having survived cancer, Catherine has gained new insights into human suffering, which undoubtedly influences her interactions with others. Her empathy extends beyond mere politeness, taking on the character of deep personal compassion. During a recent visit to a children's hospice, Catherine did not limit herself to polite smiles and formal greetings, but genuinely engaged with the children, listening attentively to their stories, embracing them, and sharing their sorrow. These moments were filled with authenticity. There was not a hint of pretense. Catherine does not seek to blindly copy Anne's style, but rather pays tribute to her achievements while remaining true to her own principles. This new stage in Catherine's life strengthens her position within the royal family. With King Charles III's health issues and Prince William's increased commitments, Catherine is increasingly seen not just as a supportive spouse, but as a key figure in the monarchy. She becomes the connecting link that unifies various aspects of royal family life. In the near future, Catherine plans to participate in an event closely related to the activities of a disability association, where Anne played an important role for many years. Catherine, who has always had a special love for horses, has found a common language with them and now seeks to demonstrate how therapeutic horseback riding can have a beneficial effect on a person's psychological state. This initiative organically combines Anne's past achievements and Catherine's current aspirations, creating a unique blend of interests that has become Catherine's distinctive hallmark. In May 2025, at an outdoor festival, Catherine's vibrant character was fully displayed. She effortlessly chatted with farmers, exchanging jokes and laughter, spoke warmly with children, sitting down with them, and offered support to a widow, radiating positive energy and having a healing effect on those around her. Catherine's presence instilled hope in people as she not only demonstrated the dedication inherited from Anne, but also brought warmth and healing to the atmosphere. Her experience battling illness transformed her, making her more approachable and human. Many people can see themselves reflected in her life journey. Mothers, wives, and women who have overcome illness and become stronger through their trials. At the same time, this fresh endeavor is fraught with challenges. The difficult task of harmoniously combining Catherine's new responsibilities with her existing workload arises. Just a few days ago, global media reported an alarming deterioration in King Charles III's health. The information space became incredibly tense. Every new message from doctors and journalists is analyzed under a microscope. The last time the UK experienced such tension was in January 2021, when Prince Philip was in critical condition. Now, the fate of a monarch who ascended the throne less than 3 years ago, but has already become a symbol of the crown's ecological modernization, hangs in the balance. Beyond the loud headlines of newspaper articles, time inexorably rushes on. The palace remains silent. The suns are in the air, and everyday details escape attention. The quiet creak of parquet in Clarence House corridors, the familiar scent of antiseptic, the hushed whisper of a nurse adjusting the king's blanket. It is from these subtle nuances that the drama the public is accustomed to observing through the prism of official communiques is composed. Late in the evening of July 11th, Buckingham Palace issued a terse message, just a couple of lines long, announcing changes to the monarch's treatment regimen. The ambiguity of the wording sparked lively discussion among experts at St. Bartholomew's Hospital. Doctors tried to understand whether it concerned a change in the main medication or a minor dosage adjustment aimed at minimizing side effects. No official clarification followed, but an hour later, camera flashes captured a motorcade emerging from the darkness of the night. A black Jaguar XK8 delivered the royal oncologist, Professor Maria Hawkins, to an urgent consultation. At the same time, Prince William prematurely concluded his working trip to Cardiff, and Prince Harry, who usually takes his time with family matters, confirmed his departure on a night flight from Los Angeles. A growing tension is palpable in the capital. Tourists gathered near Westminster Abbey record news tickers on their cameras. Taxi drivers switch their radios to BBC4, and security guards at the Parliament building quietly discuss whether the palace revealed its cards too early. Thus begins a new, by no means triumphant chapter in the reign of Charles III. A chapter where the vulnerability of the human body, the complex intertwining of kinship, and the painful question of what will happen to the crown if its owner's heart requires rest sooner than medical protocols dictate, come to the forefront. King Charles III's treating physicians have released the most detailed report on his health since February of this year. And while the text is formally brief, a serious concern can be read between the lines. Over the past 48 hours, an atypical dynamic in tumor markers was observed, leading to an adjustment in the treatment regimen. Informed sources report that this involves a shift from the standard FOLFIRINOX regimen to its enhanced version, which includes reducing the interval between infusions and adding low doses of pembrolizumab. Such combined courses can achieve a faster effect in early stages, but significantly increase the risk of immune complications. It was for this reason that the monarch already required a brief hospitalization in late March to manage a cytokine storm. The current adjustment in therapy was a response to alarming laboratory results. The CA19 level increased by 31% compared to May, and the SIRPE level increased by 12 units. The consultation, led by Professor Maria Hawkins, deemed these changes borderline but critically important, and decided to change the treatment plan without waiting for the results of a full CT scan. This proactive tactic is one of the main reasons why experts continue to express the opinion that the king is highly likely to live for many years despite the illness. While medical professionals are busy selecting optimal drug dosages, Charles III himself demonstrates his characteristic fortitude. After a brief respite, he still held an online meeting with the Board of Trustees of the Coronation Green Fund, where, according to eyewitnesses, he joked about his test results and expressed gratitude to the fund's employees for the financial chemotherapy in the form of grants. Nevertheless, doctors insist on strict adherence to a regimen: no more than 2 hours in an upright position, mandatory rest periods, and a strict anti-infection protocol. It is for this reason that the upcoming visit of the French president was postponed, and the planned trip to Wales was shortened to 1 day without an overnight stay. At the same time, the openness of the King and Princess Catherine is having an unexpectedly positive impact on society. Charitable organizations within the Megis network note a 12% increase in the number of men seeking psychological help, which experts directly link to the example set by the monarch. If His Majesty himself sees nothing wrong with talking about his weaknesses, then why should we be ashamed? Shared a 54-year-old patient at a clinic in Manchester. Thus, a peculiar paradox arises. The more restrained official palace communications become, the more powerful a resonance they find beyond its walls. And although the latest blood tests raise concerns, Charles III is firmly determined to continue an open dialogue with society, transforming his personal battle with illness into a broader discussion of courage in the face of disease. As summer darkness enveloped the city, Buckingham Palace glowed like a vast ship adrift. Inside, an atmosphere of hushed footsteps and the faint crackle of security radio communication prevailed. At 10:47 p.m., the duty nurse raised the alarm. Sensors registered a sharp drop in blood oxygen levels. The king was immediately moved from his study to his bedroom, where a team of oncologists, summoned urgently, was already waiting. Camilla, wrapped in a warm, dark olive Scottish plaid, moved quietly and discreetly between rooms, offering the doctors Earl Grey tea, King Charles III's favorite drink. She spoke softly and quickly, as if afraid to break the silence, in which the steady hiss of the oxygen concentrator was clearly audible. At 11:12 p.m., the Lord Chamberlain issued an unusual order to hoist the full royal standard above the palace, an official sign indicating that the monarch was in residence and his condition required heightened security measures. 5 minutes later, the palace roof was illuminated by powerful television company spotlights, and the first journalists appeared at the gates. An emergency BBC report announced a sudden deterioration in the king's health. On the third floor, in a narrow corridor, a paramedic skillfully installed a port catheter for urgent administration of antiemetics and corticosteroids. Silver. Clocks on the wall ticked off every second, as if hurrying time. Charles III, despite his pallor, maintained his composure and tried to joke. "It seems I'll be keeping half the kingdom awake tonight." No one replied aloud, but a nurse's smile lit up her face. At the same time, in the security center, red indicators for Protocol Eagle 2 flashed, a signal for immediate notification of the heirs to the throne. Prince William was already in contact from Kensington Palace. Prince Harry, receiving a call from Camilla in Montecito, confirmed his departure on the next available flight. In the palace server room, encryption specialists exchanged coded messages with personal air traffic controllers at RAF Northolt, coordinating the air corridor over the Atlantic. At 00:38 a.m., after an urgent analysis of inflammation markers, Professor Hawkins reported that there was no immediate threat to life. However, any new rise in temperature would be considered critical. The doctors agreed on the night's work schedule: IV drips, short rest breaks, and a repeat blood draw in the morning. The king nodded wearily, allowing Camilla to finally sit beside him. She sat, taking his hand in hers, and for a moment silence fell over the palace, as if everyone was listening to their unspoken dialogue. Thus ended the second anxious night at Buckingham Palace, without triumphant fanfares, but with the bitter realization that every minute was now more precious than the crown. Lights gradually extinguished in the corridors, leaving only the signal lamps above the doors, a reminder of the fragile order they guarded. News of the night's alarm in London reached Prince Harry in California, where he was enjoying an early evening with his family at their Montecito residence. As the Telegraph journalists learned, the call from Queen Consort Camilla found the Duke of Sussex in his home library. The conversation was brief, lasting only about 4 minutes, but it was enough for Harry to immediately order preparations for departure. A private VistaJet aircraft, code-named David H. and pre-reserved for emergencies, took off from Los Angeles Airport less than 2 hours later. On board were 2 pilots, a steward, and the sole passenger, Prince Harry. He chose to fly without security, officials, or press representatives. His carry-on luggage contained only a sober dark suit, a folder with personal notes, and a cherished childhood photograph of him playing with his father in the gardens of Clarence House. The transatlantic flight took 9.5 hours, landing at Stansted Airport. At 4:24 p.m. local time, palace security personnel collected the prince directly from the tarmac, preventing any attempts by journalists to approach. The only distant photograph captured Harry, walking towards the car with his head down and a dark blue leather briefcase in hand. The meeting with his father took place at Clarence House around 5 p.m. The only witnesses to this encounter were Camilla and the king's personal doctor guard. Rumors of an emotional conversation were confirmed by the restrained comments of a close aide. They hugged. It was genuine. No protocol. King Charles III, according to the same source, was the first to break the silence, saying, "Thank you for coming so quickly." Harry, as if forgetting past disagreements, replied, "I will always come if you call." That evening, they exchanged no more words, but simply sat side by side, immersed in a silence where memories of the past and the realities of the present intertwined. This moment, fleeting and almost unnoticed by the outside world, became a symbol of a possible, if temporary, reconciliation between father and son. Despite years of conflict, loss of trust, emigration, mutual grievances, and public disputes, in the face of shared adversity, Harry acted as any son would upon learning of his father's illness. He dropped everything and rushed to his aid. The media reaction in the US and UK to this visit was mixed. The Guardian called it an act of revived family solidarity, while the Daily Mail sarcastically noted, "Too little, too late." However, public opinion, according to polls, sided with Harry. 62% of surveyed Britons expressed the view that he did the right thing, even if family disagreements were not yet resolved. Harry himself chose to refrain from any comments. A spokesperson for the Duke briefly told journalists at the palace gates, "He is here to be with his father. Nothing else matters now." This brevity spoke louder than any words. In moments of crisis, it doesn't matter who moved to America, who gave scandalous interviews, or who released memoirs. What matters is that a son arrived on time. The heir to the throne is spending the second half of July on an intense schedule, which courtiers have dubbed the dual pulse. Each morning, Prince William dedicates himself to state briefings, visits his father by noon, and spends evenings with Catherine and the children. He seems to alternate between two realities, not allowing them to overlap longer than necessary. On Wednesday, having just returned from the Privy Council, he went in the same blue suit to Clarence House, where, according to the valet, he spent about an hour at King Charles III's bedside, discussing a report on royal estate reform. However, behind the outward composure lies a frantic consultation with lawyers. In the vaulted chamber of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, Bourne folders are already present, regulatory documents describing the procedure for partial regency. Sir Robert Hastings, a leading constitutional law expert from Oxford, cautiously explained to the press after meeting with the prince, "As long as His Majesty signs by his own hand, there are no grounds for transferring powers, but it is the heir's duty to be prepared for any scenario." On Friday, like a taut string, the fragile line between a son's care and responsibility to the state became apparent when Prince William was scheduled to officially open the innovative Airbus Centre in Bristol. Morning health analyses for the monarch showed an alarming spike in temperature, prompting the palace to secretly suggest cancelling the heir's visit. However, the prince, showing strength of spirit, rejected the offer, stating, "Father would want the work to continue." Only after concluding the official ceremony and shaking hands with engineers did he immediately head to the helicopter to return to London. Kate Middleton, observing the unfolding events, became a unique link between her husband's emerging role as regent and his role as a father in the family. In the evenings, she created a cozy atmosphere during quiet family dinners at Kensington Palace, reminding the children of the importance of their father's work, much as their grandfather had done. However, the princess herself is well aware that if doctors strongly recommend a long period of rest for the king, their family life will definitively intertwine with state affairs. In a rare private conversation, recounted by a close family friend, Prince William confessed, "The hardest part is not just waiting, but waiting without making mistakes, either as a son or as a future king." These words encapsulate the entire essence of his current existence. A step to the right, and he would be overwhelmed by excessive sentimentality. A step to the left, and he would transform into a heartless bureaucrat. While Charles III remains stable, Prince William is learning to skillfully balance on this precarious ground. While doctors meticulously measure milliliters of infusions to maintain the king's health, and Prince William shuttles between offices and the hospital room, it is the Princess of Wales who is gradually taking on the burden of the monarchy's daily representation. This shift in roles has happened almost imperceptibly. One by one, C's began to appear in the royal schedule instead of the usual A's which designated Princess Anne. Kate's first serious test was the opening of the innovative agriculture pavilion at the Royal Highland Show on July 3rd. A year ago, she would have appeared before the public in an impeccable coat dress and endured the protocol-mandated 20 minutes. However, now the princess, slightly thinner after her illness but radiating calm energy, lingered for almost an hour. She curiously touched soil substrates, asked farmers questions about nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and sampled strawberries grown using LED panels. Reporters noted with surprise that her questions were not just formalities for the cameras, but demonstrated a deep technical understanding. 4 days later, Kate visited the Shooting Star Children's Hospice, where Princess Anne had made an appearance in 2019. Instead of a traditional short speech, the princess spent almost 2 hours behind closed doors. She played Uno with a 10-year-old patient, sat on the floor listening intently to a mother's story about her daughter's nocturnal pains, and long embraced a volunteer who had recently lost his wife. Photographers were invited only at the very end to capture a memorable group shot. The photo, in which Kate gently held a girl's hand over her catheter scar, went viral worldwide and garnered a record 8 million likes on the royal family's Instagram. This was followed by a visit to the 2nd Guards Regiment. A line of soldiers saluted her as their full colonel-in-chief. The princess received a report, inspected the barracks, and after the ceremony, breaking strict protocol, approached a trembling recruit and asked, "Is this your first parade? Breathe deeply, you'll be fine." The soldier later confessed to journalists, "It felt like she was addressing not just me, but everyone who's afraid to make a mistake." At the palace, they joke that Kate has a new nickname, the Smile Curator. Wherever she goes, the tension in the crowd visibly decreases. This new style of unhurried empathy was preceded by a difficult journey. Surgeries, chemotherapy, long hours of solitary reflection. A close family friend shared, "She used to strive for perfection. Illness taught her to be real." In an era where Princess Anne is stepping into the background, Catherine is becoming the embodiment of daily service to the crown. Less flamboyant, but more relatable to the people, she seems to gather the threads that maintain the nation's emotional connection. It is in this modest yet persistent work that the new pillar of the monarchy emerges, woven not from gold and tradition, but from quiet strength, born of suffering and deep reflection. The vast palace mechanism, known as the firm, has always operated seamlessly, with Swiss clock precision. However, the current crisis has forced the Royal Press Office and political advisors to work at a completely different level. Their main task is to maintain public support at a moment when the monarch's personal vulnerability becomes evident. According to a July YouGov poll, trust in the institution of the monarchy as a whole has fallen to 54%, reaching its lowest point since 1997. Among young people aged 18 to 24, this figure has dropped to 43%. At the same time, Princess Catherine's personal approval rating remains an impressive 71%, while William's stands at 68%. This is why the palace's media center has shifted its strategy. Instead of the king, the future triad, William, Catherine, and their children, has become the focus, with King Charles III relegated to short video messages about nature, architecture, and charity. The key idea is to present the monarch as a wise patron, not a suffering patient. Simultaneously, the Green Kingdom 2.0 program is being launched, a digital platform where volunteers can easily sign up to plant trees, donate to a clinic, or participate in educational webinars. Every action is gamified. Users receive virtual royal oaks, and their avatars adorn an interactive map. In its first week, the app was downloaded by 120,000 people, a true revolution for palace IT specialists. An interdisciplinary team, comprising PR professionals, data analysts, and historians, is working on a content matrix where touching stories of sick children visited by Catherine coexist with infographics about King Charles III's achievements in sustainable agriculture. The main message is simple. The monarchy is a public service, not a luxurious display. Special attention is paid to short vertical videos for TikTok and Reels. All videos end with the hashtag #BetterWithTheCrown and a call to action. You can help right now. Buckingham Palace has never seen such aggressive digital expansion. Even skeptics in the media admit that this approach could regain the interest of an audience raised on Netflix and video games. However, all crisis management is based on trust. Therefore, the Shadow team of PR advisors emphasizes, the main thing is not to overdo it. Just a momentary impression that the palace is hiding the truth about the diagnosis and the fragile emotional contract with the nation will be broken. This is why every official message pays attention not only to optimistic plans, but also to an honest acknowledgement. The king continues therapy and thanks for your understanding. And yet, the Crown's main resource now is not technology, nor even ratings, but the simple human story that the United Family tells the country. A story of love, courage, and care. A story in which, regardless of medical prognoses, the monarchy remains beside its people. While royal medics meticulously adjust medication dosages and the press office creates touching videos, an equally intense, though less visible, work unfolds in Westminster. In early June, Emma Carter became Prime Minister, making history as the first head of government to emerge from the Green Party. Her cabinet immediately unveiled an ambitious reform plan, including the introduction of a carbon tax, the development of a new immigration code, and a review of the pandemic-era status for certain categories of small businesses. Each of these points has the potential to spark public outcry. However, the monarch's health condition has unexpectedly become a kind of indicator by which the opposition assesses the legitimacy of the new political course. Labor and Liberal Democrats are persistently demanding that the government provide a clear succession plan in case the king temporarily loses the ability to perform his duties. Their argument is simple. The passing of strategically important laws should not be tied to constitutional uncertainty. In turn, the ultra-conservative wing insists on suspending the implementation of large-scale reforms, stating that state stability must first be ensured before addressing tax changes. This crisis is also fueled by regional interests. In Scotland, the Scottish National Party is urgently rescheduling its party congress to November to approve the official wording on holding a second independence referendum. SNP leader Mabel Stewart emphasizes that the referendum will be an expression of the people's will, not a challenge to the crown. However, behind the scenes at Holyrood, it is rumored that if King Charles III's condition deteriorates to the point of requiring a regent, Scottish separatists might perceive this moment as historically opportune to achieve their goals. A similar situation is observed in Northern Ireland, where the Northern Ireland Protocol, despite its signing, remains a bone of contention. Democratic Unionists are again threatening to boycott the Assembly if London undertakes any constitutional maneuvers without prior consultations with Belfast. Thus, for Prime Minister Carter, the King's health has become both a paradoxical shield and a vulnerability. A shield, because any acute issues pushed into the background by the monarch's illness seem less significant. A vulnerability, because the slightest leak of information about confidential negotiations concerning the regency could undermine confidence in a cabinet that already faces the unpopular task of passing a carbon tax through Parliament. Under the circumstances, every week without major news about the King's health is valued more than £1 on the currency market. Analysts in the City of London and political strategists in Westminster follow stock market charts as closely as they do oncologists' telegram channels, because the FTSE index, the ruling party's ratings, and the King's hospital room temperature are now interdependent elements of a single system called British stability. While British television channels relentlessly track every movement of the royal motorcade, another game unfolds in the quiet of embassy corridors, the diplomatic one. Spain was the first to react. King Felipe VI's court requested a postponement of the British monarch's planned October visit until his health situation clarifies. The wording in the Spanish note is pointedly neutral, yet it clearly conveys what is not usually spoken aloud. European capitals do not want to be drawn into a potential change of power on the British throne. Tokyo reacted differently. Emperor Naruhito sent a personal, handwritten letter expressing sincere support and recalling the warm reception extended to Charles III during Elizabeth's funeral in Tokyo. The Japanese imperial court proposed a joint ecological project, planting friendship avenues of cherry blossoms and oaks by 2027, thereby subtly hinting at the need for long-term planning. London is paying particular attention to the Middle East. The Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan is actively preparing for an unofficial visit by Queen Rania. Officially, a private audience with Queen Camilla. Unofficially, consultations on the possible role of the Jordanian Fund in the Green Kingdom 2.0 programs. According to informed sources, back in spring, King Charles III asked Rania to become an ambassador for his climate initiatives in Arab countries. The current visit is intended to demonstrate that the monarch's plans continue to be implemented despite his health condition. Washington, in turn, acts in its characteristic American pragmatic style. The State Department, through its embassy, delicately reminded the Foreign Office that the U.S. President's visit for the coronation anniversary, if it takes place, should preferably be planned with His Majesty's capabilities in mind. Behind this polite phrase lies the White House's key question: who will host guests in 3 years? Charles III or already Prince William? And finally, the Vatican. A request for papal prayer support was received via the Apostolic Nuncio, along with an offer to synchronize schedules. Pope Francis is ready to make a brief pastoral visit at the earliest opportunity, if the king's health allows. In diplomatic circles, this is seen as the Holy See's willingness to provide moral support to the British Crown, which is always perceived by the world community as a sign of continuity, not the end of an era. Thus, like the finest threads on a vast map, private letters, telegrams, and changes in the dates of protocol services intertwine. Every capital is developing 2 scenarios: stability and transformation. However, all without exception act with caution, awaiting an official decision from London. Even the closest allies prefer to speak in whispers. Contrary to the impression created by official press statements, Princess Anne has by no means retired from duties after the solemn June event, yielding the way to younger members of the dynasty. In reality, she remains abreast of all developments, maintaining constant contact with key figures. Daily, she makes 8 to 10 phone calls and promptly responds to urgent voicemails from Catherine. Formally retired, Anne effectively plays the role of an experienced strategist in the new configuration of power. On Tuesdays, she visits St. James's Palace for confidential meetings with Catherine's team. A typical scene: a long table strewn with documents, young assistants in athletic shoes, and at the center, Anne, dressed in a modest tweed skirt, giving instructions clearly, but with the understanding that she is addressing passionate individuals, not military commanders. Her famous phrase, "Cut the fluff, focus on the core," has become a sort of motto in the communications department. Another important area of her activity is working with charitable foundations. Anne personally contacts the heads of organizations where she is a patron, explaining the transitional situation and asking them to temporarily reduce the number of applications to avoid disrupting logistics. No other member of the royal family could have so successfully tempered expectations. Her reputation as the most hard-working member of the House of Windsor opens doors for her that remain closed to an ordinary public relations specialist. Some cynics claim that Anne acts out of fear of losing influence. However, those close to her assert that she is well aware of the need for continued activity, even when leadership changes. Sometimes Anne allows herself to indulge in old habits, such as morning horseback riding at Gatcombe. But even while riding, she discusses, via speakerphone, questions of grant distribution for women farmers living in rural areas. Her stepping back from the front lines is more akin to moving to headquarters, where she can coordinate actions more effectively. London lives its usual life, but if you look closely at the news on the Piccadilly screens, you can notice a shift in people's mood. When a message about His Majesty's stable health appears on the ticker, the crowd sighs with relief. However, at the appearance of the word adjustment, faces involuntarily tense, and an anxiety hangs in the air, like a train whistle barely heard amidst the city noise. YouGov data reflects statistics, but the true mood can be felt in street conversations. Mrs. Grix, a 78-year-old pensioner from Chelmsford, says, "I've lived through 4 coronations. The king's pain feels like my own son's pain." Nearby, a student named Daniel notes, "I'm not a fan of the monarchy, but Catherine commands respect." In Birmingham pubs, bets are being placed on whether King Charles III will be able to return to public engagements before Christmas. On social media, there's an interesting mix of hashtags. #StandBy. The King is primarily used by Facebook users over 40, posting scans of prayers, coronation photos, and words of support. A Future of the Crown targets a younger audience on TikTok and Reels, featuring videos of Catherine at the hospice, fan art of William with a lion on a shield, and remixes of Harry's Invictus Games speech. There's virtually no animosity between these two groups. Each speaks of their own concerns, but both sides understand that the outcome is not yet determined. An interesting sociological fact: 58% of those surveyed are willing to accept a regency if it helps reduce the king's burden. However, only 31% would support a formal abdication. Clearly, public opinion leans towards preserving King Charles III's symbolic role, but with a strengthened team making practical decisions, hoping that the emotional connection with the king will remain, while real power shifts to the triumvirate of the future. And yet, it is silence that becomes the main barometer of public opinion. In the evening hours, as the electric bus glides along the majestic palace wall, tourists fall silent in reverent awe, as if hoping to catch some message through the illuminated facades. But their efforts are in vain, and the only sound remains their own breathing. This breathing, in turn, synchronizes with the monotonous beat of the cardiac monitor in the royal chambers. Behind the scenes, a tense drama unfolds, where analytical experts try to predict the course of events, like the denouement of a play. Professor Hawkins, the leading oncologist, presents a forecast with cautious optimism. If the enhanced FOLFIRINOX regimen proves effective, we can expect stabilization by January 2026. Sir Derek Watson, a renowned historian, recalls precedents from the past. George III, in his later years, handed the reins of power to the Prince Regent. History knows such examples, and the monarchy endured. Dr. Wainwright, a psychologist, emphasizes the importance of the human factor. The nation will accept any outcome if it sees sincerity and emotional resilience from the royal family. In government offices, 3 scenarios for the development of events have already been prepared. The first scenario, stability. The king shows a positive response to treatment and gradually returns to performing a limited range of duties, while Catherine and William take on the main public engagements. The probability of this scenario is estimated at 45%. The second scenario, Regency 2026, a temporary transfer of powers to William, who receives the right to sign state documents, while Charles III remains a symbol of the monarchy. The probability of this scenario is 40%. The third scenario, Dutch-style abdication. By his 80th birthday, the king voluntarily abdicates the throne. The probability of this scenario is 15%, and it is this one that causes the greatest anxiety in financial markets. Politicians tend to think in short-term categories, but for millions of Britons, something else is far more important. That on Christmas evening, December 25th, the familiar baritone voice will emanate from the airwaves, even if from an armchair by the fireplace. In a world where old foundations crumble, the royal message becomes the last connecting thread between the past and the future. The day is drawing to a close. Long shadows of plane trees fall across the quiet garden of Clarence House. Even the traffic lights on the mall seem muted. The city seems to hold its breath. In one of the rooms, adorned with the Prince artist's watercolors, Charles III opens his eyes. Camilla, by his side, quietly turns the pages of a beloved book on landscape architecture. The king asks to have his headrest raised. By the window, his rocking chair awaits, the very one in which he loved to read his mother's letters. With a weak gesture, he points to the garden. "Do you remember planting this lilac in '83? He whispers. Camilla nods affirmatively, and at that moment, through the slightly open window, the delicate scent of late roses drifts into the room. Footsteps are heard in the corridor. William and Harry have returned from a short walk. For a moment, a smile appears on the king's face. The family is together. He closes his eyes, listening as the clock strikes 7:30. Half a minute later, silence returns. There are no camera flashes, no protocol statements, only the breathing of four people, merged into a single rhythm, and the quiet creak of old parquet, which remembers both happier and sadder times. On this warm July evening by the fireplace, no speech is delivered to the nation, and there are no gold braids on a uniform. There is only life, fragile and real, in which the king appears first and foremost as a man. And so hope is still alive. Where love is stronger than titles, even the shadow of the crown will not obscure the light of the shady garden where little Charles once ran barefoot, gathering a bouquet for his mother. No story ends with a period as long as children's laughter echoes in the house, and lilacs bloom outside the window.